The goofiest kids horror show ever, specifically with this episode going into a lunch lady making delicious food to serve to the kids, which turns out to have potentially insect grubs that are using the kids' bodies as cocoons to feed themselves, nourish, and eventually break out and eat their hosts.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Saying this show is wild, saying this show is zany is pretty much an understatement. This show is about as crazy as you can get. It's about as poor quality you can get. It's got some awful acting. It's got some corny, cheesy moments, some really over-the-top plot lines that make no sense. That being said, this show does not take itself seriously. So, it's so bad, it's good in a way. It's so bad, it doesn't take itself seriously, so you can get a nice laugh from it. And I think you'd probably have a fun time as long as you turn off your brain and get ready for the school of brain rot. Today, my name is the Horrorlander. I cover all forms of horror media, whether it be books, comics, TV shows, movies. I also do kids horror, adult horror, young adult horror. I cover everything. So if you like that type of content, if you like this video, if you're interested to check out some of my older videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button, you hit that like button, and you hit that post notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. And comment down below your thoughts about the topics and future topics you'd like me to cover. Without further ado, let's talk about the Bone Chillers TV show, specifically with the episode called Back to School. I specifically chose this episode because it fits the theme of what I'm doing this month on my YouTube channel, which is for August, back to school. Because a lot of you guys are probably going to be heading back to school soon, or maybe you might even be starting your first weeks now or relatively soon. So I thought it'd be good to get into the school spirit and talk about some kids horror media or just horror media in general that deals with the school setting, because that is relatable to literally everybody pretty much. So today I'm going to be covering Back to School. What is this episode about? So the episode obviously opens up with the strange things that occurs at Edgar Allan Poe High School. You got all these goofy, crazy kids that are eating their lunch at lunchtime. And you get introduced to the main guy who's serving lunch called Carl. And he's serving these really disgusting meals. Looks like something straight out of like Kitchen Nightmares, worst of the worst. It's like toxic waste that he's serving, these slimy, like what looks like frog eggs on people's lunch trays.
That's fucking delicious.
Nobody's really wants to eat it. People are getting sick and tired of this gross atrocities that they're being served every time at lunch. So eventually one of the main characters, Brian, who looks like Quicksilver from the X-Men movies, got electrocuted. He decides to speak up against Carl, and his friends kind of cheer him on. The friends include Fitz, who's the main character, and that dude just straight up looks like the guy from the Slap Chop infomercials. I don't know if this is his long lost brother or son or somebody, but you got to take a look at it.
Hi, it's Fitz with Slap Chop. You're gonna be in a great mood all day because you're gonna be slapping your troubles away with the Slap Chop. Now look, here's a potato. One slap, you got big chunks for stews. 2 slaps.
And then you got the goth girl named Sarah, the predecessor to Jade from Victorious.
I'm so cool and hot. I've got it all.
And then you got the posh girl, the brains of the group, who's called Lexi. And they're cheering on Brian, telling him, yeah, you tell it to the man. You tell it to Carl. Tell him to stop serving us all this weird gunk. And eventually Carl just snaps. He crashes out and he hops over the lunch serving station and is about to go beat Brian's ass. He's about to give this man the hands. And the way he was running at Brian lets you know that this man was in more than a few fights, bro. He was about to give Brian that business. But before anything happens, Carl ends up getting taken away by paramedics. He's put in a straitjacket and taken to the mental hospital. And then you obviously get some interaction scenes between the characters, some more random character moments thrown in there, some interactions. And eventually they find out that there is a new lunch lady who's going to be serving Edgar Allan Poe High School. And the new lady comes in, and she's very odd for Edgar Allan Poe standards because she looks like a normal lady. She's always wearing shades. And she's serving what looks like normal good food. She's serving pizza, she's serving hamburgers, she's serving fries, she's serving chocolate chip cookies, all this type of delicious stuff.
I see you got the extra whipped cream in there, huh?
Yeah.
Yummers.
That the kids are actually excited to eat, and they're very happy at the fact that they spoke up against Carl because now they can finally get proper food for the school. And as they're eating it, the main character Fitz actually opts out of eating the food because he brought his own lunch. He didn't have his own money. So that kind of irks the lunch lady. You get the sense that she's a little bit upset that he's not eating her food. And as he sits down, everyone's eating the food. Everybody is like in love. They're damn near about to bust a nut over eating this food. It's some good 5-star Michelin stuff apparently. And I think Fitz feels kind of like he's missing out. He kind of feels disappointed. But eventually he has to go get some mustard for his sandwich. So he decides to get up, a little bit envious. And when he heads to try to find the lunch lady, she's nowhere in sight. He goes to the back of the cafeteria and goes to the employee section and tries to find her and ask if she has mustard. And he sees this ominous fog that's within the back of the kitchen. And she's dumping these weird things that are kind of obscured inside of her baking oven. And eventually she encounters him. She asks him what he needs. He says, I need mustard for my sandwich. And she crashes out. She goes crazy and says, mustard? You must never bring up mustard inside of this kitchen. You can never eat mustard. And he's like, oh, yo, lady, take it easy. Chotta mate. Oi, oi, oi. What's going on here? And eventually she gives him ketchup and then pats him away to basically get out of the kitchen. He leaves, finds out that the lady is crazy. She's got a psycho side to her. But nobody really believes him. They're all entranced by this good food and they think that he's bad-mouthing her. Eventually she offers these chocolate chip cookies to everybody, which everybody eats and absolutely loves. But Fitz, hesitantly eventually picks up the very last one as everybody's getting ready to head back to class. Which, by the way, one of the class that I think Lexi mentioned she's going to is called Medieval Torture. So this is a very on-the-nose show. It's got a lot of cartoonish Scooby-Doo, those type of odd Looney Tunes antics going on, which plays into the fact it doesn't take itself seriously. It's meant to be funny for kids. And eventually he takes that cookie and the lunch lady takes off her glasses and you find out that she has fly eyes. That's right. She's got the multi-pattern fly eyes. Fitz obviously normally gets freaked out. He runs out of there and the lunch lady is laughing maniacally. And when he takes this cookie home, he leaves it in his backpack and he starts opening it up at his house at his work desk. He sees that there's a bunch of ants that start crawling and falling out of it, which is an actually genuinely gross scene. This is a very nasty episode, especially the further you get in. And he realizes then and foremost that this lady is probably poisoning the food. She's probably putting insects inside of there. And you get these nasty scenes later on of her taking buckets full of maggots and dumping them into like casseroles and lasagna and stuff. Really nasty, gross stuff. So they did a good job with the gross out. And all the kids start slowly becoming transformed. You see they get these weird bags under their eyes. They start becoming what looks like hypnotized zombies as they eat this food like animals by the handful. And he's trying to convince all the kids, this food is poison, do not eat it. There might be more than meets the eye. She might be planning some bad stuff, but they don't listen to him. And eventually him and his friend Alexi, who have not eaten much of the food at all, they're the only ones with common sense. They have to eventually find out how to deal with the threat and potentially save all the kids. And that's pretty much the episode without me giving too much away. Not like this episode is Emmy worthy that it deserves that, but I want you guys to at least watch it. It's on YouTube for free. You can check it out. So what are my thoughts about this episode? The show overall, like I said, is extremely goofy, extremely zany, extremely crazy. There's so much over-the-top acting, over-the-top stuff that'll make you either cringe or laugh from the cringe, or maybe you might genuinely find it funny. I'm mostly laughing from the cringe. It's that type of show. But I still had a relatively good enough time. Again, this is straight brain rot. You will lose 900 IQ points, revert back to Homo erectus after watching this. It just is what it is. We're going to go back to the woolly mammoth and saber-tooth hunting days after watching this TV show, but you can at least get a good laugh out of it. So the plot line involving this, lunch lady poisoning the food, I thought that was pretty interesting. And again, there is a lot of gross out moments in this episode.
Oh my goodness! Your neck!
A lot of stuff that'll make you cringe and make you go, ew. There's homages to the movie The Fly. If you've ever unfortunately seen The Fly, it's a very good movie, but it's extremely disgusting, heinous, and nasty, to put it lightly. There is a lot of homages to that. There's a really nasty scene in this episode involving the kids throwing up these giant maggots, which straight up reminded me of The Fly, involving a hospital scene. You know what I'm talking about. That nasty dream sequence kind of reminded me of that. There's a transformation scene which homages The Fly as well, potentially involving some villainous characters or a character. So I liked all that about the episode. Again, this episode will make you laugh. This episode will make you, cringe with the gross out. It does its job. It is nasty. So for that, it's pretty effective. And overall, I can say that as long as you know what you're watching, it's a pretty fun time. So for what it is, I think this is probably easily the goofiest kids horror show out there. You'll get some of the most wild stuff you want to see. But if you like that typical live action cartoon stuff, if you like the goofy plot lines, and you like something that kind of feels similar to, Goosebumps and other IPs, but goes down a more cartoon route, I think this show is very much for you. And for this episode specifically, I think you might want to almost vomit at a couple of points, which means that it effectively does its job for a gross out horror. So I have to give it credit there. Overall, I'd probably give this episode like a 6.5 out of 10. It's an okay one. 6.5. I give the 0.5 because of the fact that it does have genuinely nasty moments in it. And that aside, you can pretty much, get a good laugh. I feel like I've said that plenty of times, but it's the truth. It's what this show pretty much aims for. And I do gotta say that the characters are quite lively. Slap Chop, Quicksilver, Jade from Victorious, and Mrs. Prep Girl, Sister Sage from The Boys. They are all pretty much lively and fun. And Carl, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. My boy Carl was pretty funny throughout this episode, especially when he was about to run the hands with some kids. There's also a janitor who has like a Transylvanian Dracula voice, and he's probably got one of the cleanest outros in terms of him leaving the kids' presence. And ironically, it's also one of the dirtiest. This man hops into a toilet and pulls the flushing handle and basically flushes himself down into the sewer drain because he has to do some plumbing. Reminds me of that Dave Chappelle skit with Tyrone Biggums, and at the same time, I ain't gonna lie, as goofy as that outro was of him flushing down the toilet, it was pretty clean, bro. It was pretty clean. I gotta give a shout out to my boy. That was a clean exit from my man. So,
What's up, baby?
What's good, my boy?
How you?
Staying out the way.
Okay, that boy clean, man.
No, for real.
shout out to my mans. That's all I got for this episode. Again, if you like my content, if you're excited to check out some other back to school stuff, I've covered Goosebumps Perfect School, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Locker 22, and I blanked out. Tale of the Hatching, bingo. You can go check those out on my channel. If you like these type of videos involving other kids horror content, please check out some of the other videos that I got. Stay tuned for future content. If you got horror related stuff that you want me to cover, just comment it down below and let me know your thoughts about the Bone Chillers TV show. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What are your thoughts? And that's all I got for today. So once again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that post notification bell, and I'm about to do so. I don't got a toilet that I could flush down, although considering some of the worst episodes in this show and just thinking about some of the other stuff that I'm potentially going to cover in the future, yeah, I probably would want a toilet that I could flush myself down. Just like Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs. That man would really appreciate this janitor. That's all I got. Deuces. Bing. Brought to you by Brock Studios, aka Brokebot Studios, your boy the Horror Lander.